when you get a customer of different things, if you can, it's a good idea to get as much of the info from the customer as possible, right? Like one of the things I've liked about My Lead System Pro that's a real positive towards it is when you get a customer, you have access to their phone number, their address, zip code, all that stuff. Well, if you have somebody's address, it opens up a whole new form of marketing, doesn't it? If you have their phone number, it opens up a whole new form of marketing, right? You voice broadcast them again and again till they unsubscribe or buy or die, and then you're broadcasting to the house that doesn't have anybody in it anymore, right? If they get your phone number, right? So MLSP, I've liked that because you get contact info from everybody, right? There's some affiliate products as well. If you sell a lot, the owners will work with you. Like the article dealio, you know? I got all the addresses from everybody that ever bought that article submitter from me. It's like 1,500 of them. That's a good responsive direct mail list. I've mailed them and made a bunch of money before, right? If you get somebody's address, you could do direct mail. Nobody in the industry does direct mail. You know, I'm not good at it yet, and I still make money. You know, every time I do it. You know, but it's not cold, all right? So let me give you some resources that I've used for different kinds of marketing. Number one, voice broadcasting, okay? And let me tell you how I use this personally, and I'll tell you things I've done. Anybody here got the spam voice messages before? And like been like, gosh, how do I delete my phone number out of this thing so it never gets called again, right? Well, how many of you, though, have got a message from me and you've liked it, right? At least once where you've called in and listened to a message, right? A lot of my team, they thank me for those things. Because what I do is a little bit different. What I do is when somebody buys something, they go onto like a customer or a team list, right? And I do something where I record usually a training once a week or once every other week. And I do a voice broadcast to the list, okay, with what's called a press one transfer option. Okay, press one transfer. And then what happens is they press one and transfer in to listen to the training on their phone, right? Well, you know, I'm going to teach you guys something that nobody has done anywhere I've ever seen but me, all right? That I've sold a lot of crap through this, all right? It's unbelievable, actually, and I just don't share it generally. There's only a few people who have a big enough list to really capitalize it. Lawrence, you could. Dave Sharp could do it. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody in here has a big list, but what I do is you can record a sales presentation. I use a thing called SimpleVoiceCenter.com. It's like $8 a month per line. All right. I don't even have an affiliate link for this. SimpleVoiceCenter.com. They give you a phone number. You can record. Anybody in here ever used a sizzle call in network marketing before? 7-minute sizzle call. Well, you can record an unlimited length message and upload it to this. And then when somebody calls it, they can listen to your message, right? Well, who in here has been on a live conference call where you've been sold something, right? Well, with Mark Hoverson's launch, I'll give you an example. I recorded a sales presentation with Mark Hoverson, right? Audio, right? It was an audio sales presentation. I took my phone numbers for my list. I broadcast with press one transfer. And when they pushed one, went to the sales presentation. Got 700 people to listen to a sales presentation on the phone. Didn't even have to be live. Pretty efficient. You know what I mean? That's something that's worked amazingly well for me. I've done this several times and recruited like 50 people in a few days. But it's not teachable to most people who don't have lists. Does that make sense? Because if you do it to cold prospects, it'll work, but just not very efficiently. You have to have a little bit of a bigger front end. But if you've got a customer database, it'll cost me about $150 to send about 15,000 messages or so. Right?
You're talking about people that bought or just opted in?
Both. Right? And every time I do this, I'll make like $1,500 on my list.
How many leads do you think you
You can do that with any amount of phone leads because it's cheap. Because if you do 100, you have 1,500 leads, you've probably got, I bet you've got 300 phone numbers.
Something like that, yeah.
If you send a voice broadcast and remind people about your webinars, it'll triple your attendance. because they're already on your list. They already know you. It's not spammy. Yeah, some people will think it's spammy. Now, here's some mistakes I've made with this. When I first did it, I wanted to talk to people. So I sent void broadcasts from my own phone number. I still have unanswered angry voicemails. Right? So what you do, there's a few things that are really important to doing voice broadcasting. Number one, don't do it to people that are not opt-ins unless they're businesses only. Because sending voice broadcasts to residential homes that have not opted in, you can get fined. All right? If somebody's an opt-in, it's fine. All right? You always have to have an opt-out option on the live message. Right? Which is built into the software. And I'll give you guys some examples of how you can do this later. You have to have a push 8 to be removed from the list. All right? If you want to be removed. It's fine. I won't call you anymore. But I'd push 1 right now to listen to my message. Go ahead and push 1. Yeah. Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? You're like, and then people forget what they're supposed to push and hit 1. Was it? Like, dang it, I got foiled. Right? But you got to have the opt-out on the live message. All right? Or you could get in trouble. You probably won't get in trouble, right? Unless you're sending millions of them, right? But you could get in trouble, so it's better to have the opt-out. Does it make sense to everybody? Okay? So let me give you a couple of different examples of using this. And this literally takes about 15 minutes to do. It's super easy. Ola, you could do it, right? I don't know if you've done it before. You've got a big enough list to where it'd be useful, right? And this is a couple examples of things that I've done. Let me give you an example of like a sales presentation, all right, that you can do over an audio. You can upload it to Simple Voice Center. It's $8 a month. They don't have an affiliate program. It's just ultra cheap, and it's unlimited. People can call into that number all day and night and listen to it again and again and again and again and again and again as long as you leave the message up there. All right? So what I've done is things like this, right? I record a message, get on my computer. I say, hey there, my friend. This is Dave Wood. Look, I wanted to send this message out. I know you hate these things, but I've got something when you hit 1 that's going to blow your mind. I actually got Mark Hoverson on the line. A 37-minute interview on how you can make a fortune in your own information products. Now, if you want to, you can hit 8 to be removed from the list. But what I would do is hit 1 now to listen to this 37 minutes of just pure gold to show you how to make an absolute fortune in the information marketing business. Hit 1 now, and I'll talk to you in a second. Right? Had the opt-out in there. It's just so unconscious that they skip over it. Right? Because I'd rather they hit 1. But you still get I get about 2 or 3% opt-out of live messages every time. Right? So if I send out 1,000 of them, what's that? 20 opt-outs or something like that. People who pick up. You also record a version for the answering machine, right? And the answering machine, what you do is you tell them to call the phone number, right? Because remember, they can't hit 1 from an answering machine. That'd be very confusing if somebody gets it, right? It's not working. Stupid thing's not working, You've done that, probably?
No.
I've got them a lot. Go ahead and hit 1 now. I'm like, dude, it's just an answering message. So there's 2 versions. You could upload this in LeadNet Pro. All right. And the answering machine, right, you have them call the number. I have 2 of these numbers, 951. If anybody want to listen to the Mark Hover one, 262-3562. If you want to listen to the example of this, and you can use it for selling anything. I don't use it too often because then people hate your guts, right? If you do it once or twice a month, people like it, actually, if you're just giving them info. And the key here is in whatever this is, have value and then sell. Value and then sell. Value and then sell, because then there's actually some positive reason for them to continue to listen to the messages every time you send one out. Right? Value and then sell. Value and then sell. Right? So you can listen to this. You can listen to the Mark Hoverson message I did as an example of this, and I actually sold about 30 of his information blueprint doing this. Pretty cool. Got me into the top 6 or 7 or something, I think. Maybe the top 10, barely, with all the people that hopped on last who have lists 3 times the size of mine, right? Does that make sense to everybody so far? So let me give you an example of the message.
That's right. You asked earlier, these buyers or these just people opting in. Are you getting people on opt-in forms to get phone numbers?
On various ones, yeah. Yeah, not everything. But I have different opt-on forms with different calls to action. Mostly I just request email, and then later they can opt in with more info. So there's stages where I actually do get their phone number. that make sense? Okay. I like to capture more on the front end and then get them to give more info. You know, like something you could do with My Phone Room as an example, okay, is you could request only an email on the front end, so a lot of people request information, right? And then what you can do is later in your funnel, you could say request a call, have a little button. Then they could open up in a new window, and then that could go directly to My Phone Room. They just call your lead. So you're still capturing more opt-ins, but you're getting the people who want to be called, right? It's an option. That'd work, right, Lawrence? Yeah, yeah. So value, sell. Now, what's the example of the answering machine message? Really simple. Same thing. Hey there, buddy. Sorry I missed you. Want to give you a call, let you know about a message I just recorded with Mark Hoverson. Now, this guy's done $10 million in sales, and I got a chance to do an interview with him on how you can make a fortune in information marketing. It's recorded on this number, so pull out a pen. You could re-listen to this message again and again. It's also on your caller ID, same number, 951-262-3562. Write that down again. It's 951-262-3562. It's 37 minutes, pure gold info. I could not believe he gave it away for free. So right when you hang up the phone, look at your caller ID. If you don't have it for some reason, pull out a pen, listen to the message again, and call 951-262-3562. It'll blow you away. Right? So now, I'm not leaving my personal number, because then they'll call and say, hello, Dave. Man, thanks for calling, Oh, God. Kill you, right? But what this does, Simple Voice Center, you can set it to where at the end of the sales message, it just hangs up. No messages, right? Because I won't call them. Does that make sense, though? Now, if you're recording an audio presentation, and you could use this in any replicated funnel, right? It's important to have like at least 3 call to actions. You need, in an audio, you need, or a webinar, you need to tell people where to go and what to do at about 5 minutes, 45 minutes, and 55 minutes if it's an hour-long presentation. If it's 30 minutes, you still need one at 5 minutes. Because what happens is sometimes people just want to know what to do right in the beginning of the call. And they'll leave the call halfway through without knowing where to go. So you give them the website to go to, right? 5 minutes, 45, 55 minutes. I learned that from Alex Mandossian, this is what he does, is optimizes conference calls, right? This is brilliant. Have you ever used voice broadcasting like that, Dave? Record a sales message, press 1 transfer message into the sales message? Yeah, it's brilliant. Works like magic. Works like magic. You get 600 people to listen to a conference. Actually right now I could get about 1,000 people to listen to a conference call, right?
You ever use the phone numbers generated from LeadNetPro that are screened?
I don't, personally, because I think it's annoying. So and honestly it works. I just think it's annoying, so I don't do it. But when you're newer, I would have done it, absolutely. I don't think anything's wrong with it. I just get annoyed, so I don't.
Repeat the question.
Huh?
Repeat the questions.
Oh, repeat the questions. Right. So he asked, do you ever use the numbers that you scrape from LeadNetPro to do voice broadcast? And the answer is I don't. Yeah, because I think it's annoying. So I found this a useful resource for voice broadcasting. Simple Voice Center is how I do those automated recorded messages. Okay? It's real cheap. You can get an 800 number too, but don't. There's no need. People will call the number they have to pay for just as much as an 800 number. It's totally useless. And then in Canada and Alaska, they can't call it. So if you have any leads there, they can't get transferred in. It won't connect, right?
How big should your pitch that should have a significant size of base?
A few hundred phone numbers.
You want to put
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd do it. I started doing it when I had about 100 phone numbers.
and you can use these services basically send it off and take.
Well, yeah, think about it like this. Let's say you have 100 leads, and you're doing a webinar, and you know more people will show up if they get a call. And there's no way in hell you're going to call 100 people. You can pretend all day, but there's just no way. Voice broadcast. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, it's real important, if you're given a website on a voice message, that the website is simple, right? Like, let's say you got a complicated, like, what's your last name again, Dill? Like that, huh? What? I can't even say that. So if that's his website, if that's in his website, do not leave that in a message, right? It needs to be like getmoremoney.com or something like that, 15kperweek.com. I'm going to show you how to make 15,000 bucks a week. 15k per week. That's 15k, letter K, per week.com. Right? It must be short and simple. Even workwithdavidwood.com is too long for a voice message. Right? And MLM Global Takeover, people will misspell it. Simple to remember. A child could spell it.
I had one that says, I have big news.
I have what?
I have big news.com.
That's great.
That's awesome.
And
I have bignews.com is what he said for the camera. The number on the callerid.com? That's actually pretty good.
That's what the last week said. That's how he does it.
Really?
It's like, look your caller ID, add .com, we'll take you there.
Now that's brilliant.
You're going to have that domain free, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's I just learned something I'm going to use tomorrow. I'm going to spam everybody. No.
Question. So using LeadNet Pro for voice broadcasting,
Yeah.
what you need to do is voicecenter.com.
Mhm.
That phone number is the simple voice center message.
No, this is the phone number I got. I paid for this.
Okay.
They give you your own phone number.
And that points to the voice center.
This when they call it, they just hear the recording.
And do you ever use those phone numbers to do any text messaging?
Do I do text messaging? I don't. But
Text broadcast?
people got to opt in for text messages. You got to be real careful with that. Right? Is that helpful though? Help you, Angela? Right? Even if you got a product, right? Or let's say you want to do a weekly training. I'll give you an example. And you don't want to be on a live webinar. You can record a weekly training, put it on an audio, and voice broadcast it to everybody, and always sell something at the end. Always. Because why would you sit there for an hour and not recommend a resource for them to buy? The weekly recommended resource is getinfonow.com. Go there and buy. You know, I want to tell you about a new marketing technique that you can use to get more people into your business now. It's called voice broadcasting. That's the training of the week on how to do it. Let me show you what I use for voice broadcasting. Go to leadnetpro.com/David Wood and buy. And by the way, you also earn $300 commissions, right? Always put it in there. Because you know what? If 500 people are calling into the number, somebody's going to go to the site and buy it. You know what I mean? And other people don't mind. They're like, I don't feel like doing that. Okay, whatever. No big deal, man. Buy the next week's resource. Right, Dave? Right? So these are some things that I do. That's example. So we got voice broadcasting that I've used. Another thing I've used, let me erase this really quick. What's what? Oh, if it's an hour-long sales presentation on the phone, you have a call to action at 5 minutes, 45, and 55 minutes. You need one in the beginning, right? Because people will just want the website. And they'll hang up, and they will never hear the website at the end. But if you give it to them in the beginning, they'll say, oh, I'll go check it out. And they'll write it down. They'll go check it out, right? Another thing I've used, that I've used personally to recruit a lot of people, is send-out cards. Now, I think there's better ways to do direct mail than send-out cards, personally. But I haven't done it, right? You can send long-form sales letters. But if you want send-out cards, here's my website. 85505. Sendoutcards.com/85505 is my ID. But what I've used send-out cards for is customer mailings, right? And here's what I've used it for, is a couple times a year. It's expensive now because I got a big address database. So I won't do it unless there's something that's converting, because it's expensive. It's like $1,000 per mailing to send the card to everybody, at least, right? At the beginning, though, it was a couple $100. So I was like, yeah, whatever, right? But what I do is I get a converting offer, right? Like, let's say the LeadNet Pro thing. Let's say you got it, it's converting at a certain level. You broadcast it to everybody. And now what you do is you say, I'm going to mail this to everybody. You can upload your customers, customer addresses, personalize the cards, right? And again, there's other ways to do this other than send out cards, but it works, you know? And then you need a big fat link to go to in the card, right? I'll tell you one of the most successful campaigns I ever did was send out cards. It was when I was in iLearning Global before Numis. I actually did this in Numis too. I recruited 50 people doing this into Numis, right? When I was new. I got into Numis, did a crazy thing, got a ton of people in, and then I took all my customer database and I mailed them with a link to look at a presentation, all right? But my most successful campaign ever, all right, was in iLearning Global, and here's what I did. I sold all that article marketing product, right? I got the addresses. Because guys, a buyer address, you got to keep those, okay? In a file, organizer, CSV, whatever it is, some sort of system, you must keep your customer addresses. They will buy again and again and again and again. If you do a launch on a product, 2/3 of the money are going to come from existing customers almost every time. Yeah. You need your customer addresses. Even if they're not active, you need them. All right? So what I did was I sent out a card. I said, I just want to thank you for your purchase of the automatic article submitter. Right? That's how Ola got on my list originally. Right? I wanted to give you a bonus for buying the product. I just recorded a training on how I've been recruiting a ton of heavy hitters into my business. Go to this website now, had a colon, and then it said sponsorheavyhitters.com. Okay? Sent out 800 cards, got 700 opt-ins. Joining iLearning Global. Recruited 60 people. Yeah. So what I did was, in the card, I had big letters in the beginning, sponsorheavyhitters.com, said, to your success, I had a little picture of me smiling at the beach, right? Dave Wood, right? Had my phone number on there because I used to give that out back in the day. Now I'd put somebody else's phone number in there in my downline or something, who loves phones, right? But the thing is, right, I got 700 opt-ins, and then here's what I did. It was only a valuable presentation on it was only a training. It was literally just a training. But what was the call to action at the end of the training? If you want to work with me directly, and you want something that heavy hitters will actually join, click on the link below this video and look at the presentation for the company I chose to work with, because one of the reasons they're joining is because my company doesn't suck. Right? Click on the link now, right? So then they clicked from the free training into the company presentation. And on autopilot, I had 60 people join. No phone calls. Cheating. Right? Just something I've done. So it's been a useful resource to me because it's personalizable. And I think send out cards is like $500 to join or something. I think they have a cheaper option too, if you want to use it. I honestly I never even sold one of them. Huh? I've never bothered. They do? What's the cheapest one? $200, you could do it. Now there's better ways, honestly, to do direct mail if you're going to be serious about it. Dan Kennedy has some resources, but I haven't done any of that yet. So I can't teach you how to make like long form sales letters and direct mail and do it because I don't even know how. I don't know resources to do it. I've never done it. Right? But I'm going to in the future. Expensive stuff. 30-page letter.
Have you or any of you guys ever used any of the services you use with direct mail or others that does personalized URLs? So is there direct?
You can do that in send out cards. With cards, but they don't do other forms of direct mail. I don't know who does that, but Mike Dillard has some resources on it and a couple products I can look up for you. Huh?
Yeah, I've just looked at some of my other business resources. So you get a card that says go to abc.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can, and yeah, again, with cards you can do it. With long form, I'm telling you something nobody in this niche is doing. Nobody is sending long form sales letters to their customer base. Nobody. Not even. I think Dillard's done it once or twice, right?
Yeah, he has. I've got one.
Yeah, I've got. Nobody else. And I'll tell you,
Multi-page ones from Frank Kern.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, Frank Kern makes a lot of money doing it. I'll tell you what happens. Somebody gets a 30-page letter in the mail. Who knows you? Who's a customer and has bought something? I'll tell you, the ones with money, what do? They read it. The poor ones, they throw it away. Who do you want reading it? Yeah. Smart people read stuff because they're like, I'm going to get some copy tricks out of this. And then they get suckered in. The affiliate system that I'm installing is on my personal blog, is Delevo. But it's more complex, and you need somebody who knows how to install it to get it to work. But I'll give you guys more information on that one after I test it. You can do some really weird stuff with that. I'm trying to think. I had a couple of more that I was going to cover here. Here's the important point, though. Most people, right, what do? They get a customer, and they just market to them in one way, right? People buy in different ways, right? So if you're only marketing on the email, but somebody's only going to buy if they get something in the mail, or if they get a phone call, you're just losing money. It's one of the ways that I recruit more from less leads than a lot of big people in the industry do, with less work. And this stuff takes no time. How long do you think it takes me to set up a voice broadcast? I got to record a sales message, number one. Number two, I got to record a 30-second live message. Number three, I got to record a 30-second answering machine message. So total, and then I got to upload them. So total of maybe an hour and a half. And every time I do it, I'll make $1,500 out of thin air. I bet if I sent one out about LeadNet Pro, I'd make $5,000. I'm going to do that. Not a bad idea, right, Dave? I haven't thought of that till now, right? So I've used that. Reach out to them in multiple ways, right? And you can have systems for the direct mail. Now, I don't know how to do a lot of this, and send out cards is a pain with systems because they don't want anything to be automated. So you can send things to people all personalized in bulk, but it's really difficult to send out like, you get a customer, they automatically get a card. You can't do that with them. But with good direct mail services, and you could just look around if you really want to get into it, you could set it up to where you get a purchase, right? And just like an email autoresponder, somebody gets a direct mail piece week 1, week 2, and then they could get one in 1 month, 6 months, all selling different products. And you could just set it up on autopilot once you got some things in play. And nobody in the industry is doing this, and a lot of people who make a lot of money outside the niche are, and it works, right? Systems, right? That helping? Okay. Any questions on any of this stuff? Okay, cool. Another thing that's important with just resources is there's automated ways to do it. I'm going to tell you right now too, but there's structured ways to do it as well, where you need a customer list that's separate from your. We were talking about this the other day. You need a customer list that's separate from your regular autoresponders. And what I use to upload customers to is iContact. Okay? Now the unfortunate thing is it's manual, and that's the thing that I hate about it, because if you got like 15 products, right? Now you can set this up automated with your own products, all right? And there's certain products that do it for you. But if you've got your own product, what you can do is you can make it so when somebody buys, they automatically go to another autoresponder. You can do it with Aweber, you can do it with any affiliate software, you can do it, right? You need a customer database of people who have bought, because why? They buy more than anybody else on your list. Ryan Dice did testing on that, and he found that it was like a ridiculous amount of his sales came from repeat buyers, right? And that's what I found. So I voice broadcast my list of buyers all the time, because they keep coming and hanging out and getting stuff that I find useful. And anytime I do a launch now, I do at least $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 in sales in a week, right? Give you a couple examples. Mark Hoverson's product, right? I don't have a list nearly as big as most of those people in the top 10, not close, right? not nearly as big as MLSP people. And their list is 3 times, 4 times the size of mine. But I was like within one sale of them. How? They're reaching out in one way. I'm reaching out in multiple ways. If I'd done a direct mail campaign, I would have just smashed them, right? Because most people don't do that stuff. So you reach out in multiple ways, but make sure if you're advertising, the more expensive your advertising is, right, the higher converting your offer has to be, and it must be something you're getting money for immediately unless you've got really deep pockets if you want to continue to do it. If you want to just be like, you know, IBM and spend money on bullshit, you can, you know, but it's not smart. And what do we do in network marketing? We spend money on bullshit all the time, all day and night, you know. I'll just spend more money and I'm going to get rich. Nah, won't work, right? And now that you know that, you're not going to be in the dark, right? If you spend money and it's a waste, stop it, right? And spend money on something a little different. And if that's a waste, it's no big deal. But if you keep doing that and changing it, you're going to find something that's working, and that's what you keep doing, right? That make sense? Okay, so let's cover some things for product ideas for people. Who wants to come up with some product ideas? Ideas for products. You're good at being on the phone. Live prospecting recordings. Right? People love that stuff because they think they need to be on the phone. Right? How to influence people. Right? Now here's the thing with products. All right? The less specific it is, the harder it is to sell. Okay? Less specific equals harder to sell. So for example, now it's harder to sell, but there's also sometimes a bigger potential market too. So sometimes you got to have a little bit deeper pockets to go with less specific stuff. So for example, what's easier to sell? Just part of the ease. How to set up a sales funnel with your own information product from day one using nothing but WordPress. Or how to be more happy and joyful in life. You know what I mean? The happy and joyful in life product is a little bit difficult to sell. Now, Tony Robbins sells stuff like this all day and night, but that's because he's got magical powers. People, like, let's look at a JV model, all right? That a couple successful ones, and this is the purpose, to have you guys do it and kind of fumble around, and then have you start forming discussions and just thinking about it, and then looking, you know, who can I really JV with? Even new. Let's say you got 50 people on your list, you got 40 people on your list, and let's say you got 100. You got 100. Well, all three together have 150. So you say, shoot, I'm doing a product launch. Can you guys pump in? And all of a sudden, you're emailing, he's emailing, and she's emailing. People are like, crap, I'm getting 3 emails about this thing. Right? So now you have the list power of 150 rather than 50. Right? Does that make sense? Right? So here's some examples of successful JVs. Right? Let's look at IM Tool Suite. Right? Now, this is not very successful yet. Right? But I think it will be eventually. Right? There's not really a ton of people in it yet. It's new. Right? What happens, they got a programmer. Right? Right? Now, I would not form a JV quite like this. This isn't my preference. Okay? They got a programmer. They got a closer. They got somebody who does split tests. And they got a manager, essentially. Personally, and again, not my model, right? I'm not interested in doing anything like this. But it's a JV where they formed a company. They formed a company for this, and they're doing split shares on the profits. All right? Advantages to that? Well, Cedric, who's the closer, couldn't do this with crap. Cedric is not a programmer, he's a closer. Right? Cedric also is not going to do split testing, period. But Jim Chow can. Right? Kenny's a detail freak. He's a freakazoid. Right? If the details aren't in place, he'll go crazy on you. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny. Because I've worked with these guys. I've done JVs with these guys, right? That's an example. They formed this little company. Well, they got 500 members in this deal. What's the disadvantages of it? They're doing straight profit splits between the 4 of them. 4 people to do just straight profit splits on everything you're doing is a lot. You know, what if one of you is working 18 times as hard as the other one, right? there's advantages and disadvantages, right? What's another example of a JV, right? I'll give you guys different kinds of examples and partnerships, and these are the things, you know, together you can be stronger, and there are different ways to do things. You don't have to do any of this. You can make a lot of money not doing any of it, right? MLSP. Now that's actually an ultra good example, and there's a lot of elements to it. What do they got? They got 3 people, right? They got Todd. Again, Todd was the programmer, right? They got Brian, and they got Norb, right? Now, originally, Brian was not in this, right? He came in later, all right? Originally, it was Norb and Todd, all right? Norbert was kind of the company face. You know, he was very believable. The thing about Norbert is you look at him and anybody can believe him, right? He's sweet looking, his hair is parted perfectly, you know? Yeah, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Norbert." And you're just like, "Hi, Norbert." You know what I mean? Right? Well, Brian is a hype guy and copywriting, right? Who creates all the hype in MLSP? Well, Brian. Hype is useful. Right? We learned yesterday hype is useful. Right? It is. Hype sells. Just straight up. Right? Majority of the population buy on hype. Right? It sells. Big time. So Brian is copywriting hype, that kind of a thing. Right? And now they formed a company structure outside of this. Right? Well, what are some advantages to MLSP? Well, they created a really, 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 really good product. Right? Where they now have viral content creation, viral promotion. And now their model is they're paying their affiliates 30% to 40%. Okay, so that what they're doing is they're then splitting 60 to 70% after expenses. So then they have bandwidth expenses, company expenses. But what's the success of the model? Well, I don't know what they're doing now. I know they used to be doing $450,000 a month in revenue, right? A lot of expenses. These guys make probably $30,000, $40,000 a month from MLSP. Not really a lot more. That's it. Yeah, not a lot more. Right? It's not big enough. I mean, it's not big enough. There's lots of partners. I mean, they're not making $100,000 a month from that thing. Right? But that income is, I'm telling you, is straight doing virtually nothing. Cool system, right? Great example. Now let's show you another one. Another examples of different things that you could do. And these are just ideas. And again, you guys need to take this into discussions, you know, and you know, come up with ideas and just keep doing it. This is the life of an entrepreneur. Another one is magnetic sponsoring. Put MS, although that is a disease too, you know, right? And who do you got? You got Dillard, and you got Tim Irway. Jonathan Budd actually has a behind-the-scenes guy in his deal too, right? Dillard was just doing magnetic sponsoring. Tim Irway actually came in later. What Tim Irway did, right, is Tim Irway scaled it. He said this could be 10 times bigger if it was in a better system. Mike Dillard was just doing copywriting and selling it. And he's like, dude, we need to put this in a bigger scalable system, right? So they formed a little JV between 2 people. The result, 20 million in revenue, right, in 5 years, right? That's examples of like partnership JVs starting a company, which you could do with one person, no partnership. Some people hate partnerships. In some regards, they're attractive, and in some, they're not attractive, right? And what if you start hating each other's guts later, right? Well, that sucks. You both own it, don't you? You know, because you got to define what you want and don't want, right? Okay, so what's some examples of different kinds of JVs outside of that? Here's some fascinating ones, and this is where you can all play. Let's look at Frank Kern. Who are all Frank Kern's JVs? Hey, Lawrence, who are all Frank Kern's buddies? We got Frank Kern, Ryan Dice, right? Dice. He's a new one. Brandon Burchard. And then there's a couple more. There's the video guy, Mike Konings. Huh? Mike Filsame? Mike Filsame? I don't even know what he does. But that's okay. He's the one I'm not on his list. I'm on the other guy's list. All right, so what happens? Well, these guys all have their own individual companies. They all have their own companies, right? And what happens is they all do their own stuff. They all have their own funnels. They have their own process. And they all promote each other's launches whenever the other one does a launch, right? And they all got huge lists. Why? Well, because let's say this person has 50,000 on their list. Let's say this person has 50,000, this person has 50,000, this person has 50,000, this person has 50,000. Well, Mike Koenig says, guys, let's do a launch. I'm going to pay you a special JV rate on the launch above everybody else. He's your partner, right? And now all of a sudden this guy has a list, instead of 50,000, of $250,000. And they know that. So now all of a sudden this guy's list escalates exponentially. Well, then Brendan Burchard does a launch. Bam, he has a list of $250,000. Bam. So what are about all these guys' list size? About $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, something like that. Right? Why? That's another example of a JV. See that? So you start developing a list, start doing these things, and you find partners who are at a similar level with you, or can be in your game. And what does that do? It gives you enough influence to then scale to more JVs. Right?
And one of you might have a product that the other one doesn't have yet or hasn't developed yet. You can sell that other person's product just through your corresponders.
Here's another example of this kind of thing in action. This is how, by the way, guys, this is how 5 people are controlling every niche, is this kind of stuff. Right? And your desire might not be to control a niche. I'm just telling you how to do it. All right? So let's give a good example in our niche of another type of JV. Well, you've got magnetic sponsoring, right? Diseased again. No, I was kidding. You got MLSP. You got the SEO networkers, right? You got Jay Budd and his crew, right? They're controlling the network marketing niche right now, temporarily, right?
Temporarily.
But here's the thing. Okay? Now, this is the interesting thing. What have these guys ever done outside of JV launches? I don't know. Nothing, maybe? They're great guys, by the way. These guys are my buddies. But you see how they just built their relationship in here? They built this relationship in here, and then they have a list out of nowhere of 50,000 people?
No excuses.
No excuses.
If they pulled that many people doing that, then that blew up their list.
They did blow up their list, right? Now here's the thing. Have you noticed anytime they do a launch, these guys do a launch anytime these guys. The only one who isn't really together here is these two are like, I hate your guts. Right? I mean, they're like, I hate your guts, so I think you're stupid. And Jonathan Budd's like, well, that's because you're not in tune with the universe. You know what I mean? So, seriously, I mean, the MLSP guys are a little bit more competitive like that. Jay Budd just is more aloof. He's like, whatever, you need to get more in tune with love, man. That's why you're not promoting my launches. You're not in tune with the universe. Right? But in any case, right? So now all of a sudden, Jay Budd's got an active list of 100,000 or so. 90,000 when I first met him is what he had was about 90,000 actives, right? He has a lot of unsubscribes because he hammers them.
Where does Carbon Copy Pro and
Carbon Copy Pro does not seem to do a lot of JVs, right? So that's another example. But he has a JV company within his own company, right? Carbon Copy Pro, for example, is a conglomeration of the skills of Jay Kubasek, David Schwind, right? Buddy of mine. He's actually going to come here originally. Got distracted doing a launch or something. I can't remember. But it's a combination of skills, right? Inform Carbon Copy Pro. But you look at this now. MLSP. They're not emailing their whole database because they have this agreement to not email people's personal leads, but they do capture them. But their list that they promote to, when they're doing a promotion, is the people who have bought memberships and are still active. And if you send any leads to the site, that they opt into MLSP, the MLSP site leads. Right? So their list probably that they could promote to is maybe 60,000. Magnetic sponsoring is the biggest here. Probably $250,000, right? And then the SO networkers over here, I bet they have 40, 50,000 active, because of all the launches they've done. Maybe only 30,000, but they have a really powerful buyer list, right, of a lot of people's buyers. But the point is now, and these numbers, by the way, I'm just inventing them, so don't think that this is actually how much these guys have, because I don't look in their Aweber accounts. I'm just guessing, you know. But now all of a sudden, what do they got? Let's say this is the numbers. They got 150,000, 400,000, 460,000 leads being emailed about every major launch between the four, excluding the fact that MLSP won't promote JBud and JBud won't promote anything with MLSP. But they all promote magnetic sponsoring, which is why they have the biggest list, don't they? Yeah. JBud doesn't also tend to promote the SEO networkers. So this is all, they all really promote MLSP. These guys promote these guys promote these guys. Ann Sieg will come in and she'll promote some stuff here too. And Ann Sieg has a list of about 350,000. She's bigger than Magnetic. She was doing it longer. She started this whole thing. Yeah. No, most people don't know that. Well, Mark Hoverson just not really. No, this is his first big launch. He partnered with Magnetic. He came in, I got an idea for a product. Mark Hoverson's good at sales. He runs GRN. He owns GRN. And he mostly focuses on that. And he has his own stuff. You know what I mean? But these are examples of masterminds at work, right, in different niches and different things, just to give you an ideas of connections you can make, right? You know what I'm saying? This is just to give you examples and ideas of ways you can connect with each other and just things to be rolling around your mind. Because one thing sometimes a lot of people struggle with, they're like, man, I can't do all this stuff. So, you know, what can Jim Chow do? You know, I mean, I'm teasing. He's good. He is pretty good at tracking and split testing. Actually, he's pretty analytical. Jim's good. But I'm teasing it because I've worked with him. You know what I mean? And he's good at forming JV relationships a lot of times. You know. But you see what I'm saying, guys? Just kind of a path that gives you more influence. Right? That's how more influence is created by leverage circles. All right? So here's an example of how you could kind of work your way in, because people will tend to play with you at your level. Right? You got a list of 1,000, it's pretty easy to do a JV with another thousandaire. Right? In fact, the Stone Cold thousandaire might even participate. All right, but you know, they'll tend to do JVs with similar size lists. All right? Does that make sense? So then, let's say you want to work your way into a bigger JV, right? So what you do then is let's say, you know, okay, so I got a strategy now. I know how to get leads. I've got a product idea. It's scalable, right? I got a plan. And you form a few JV partners. Let's say you develop a list of 150 people each. Right? How many you got? 450 people to email. Right? So you say, I'm going to do a launch, then I'm going to do a launch, then I'm going to do a launch, and now all of you got a list of 450 free leads. Right? Superior, isn't it, than just grinding it away all the time? Right? And now all of a sudden you can do JVs with people who have 450 leads. Right? And now whenever your prospects are getting a launch email, they're getting hammered by 3 people they all respect who are promoting each other. Rather than just one. What do you got? Well, people who either hate your guts or buy. You know? A lot more buyers. More social proof. Right? That make sense? And then all of a sudden you guys could come together, you develop something, you say, shoot, we got to, you know, would you guys be willing to do a JV with us? With your list of 60,000? Well, maybe now you get 30,000 leads or 10,000 leads. Instantly growing a list. How much would that cost through PPC to do? To grow a list of 10,000 people like that? Expensive, right? Tribe Pro, they come along. MLSP likes it. They says, you know, I see how this could benefit our community if everybody uses it in their own blogs promoting MLSP. How many people do you think are in Tribe Pro on their list? I'd bet because everybody who owns it is on their list, I'd bet 5,000, 10,000 maybe. I have 2,500 people in my tribe, right? You know, in Tribe Pro, so I imagine a lot of the people who are in my tribe, right? So there's probably twice that many in there, 5,000. But the thing is, a lot of buyers in there. Everybody's buyer list is now on Tribe Pro's list. Now these guys, as of right now, and they will later, do not know how to market to that list very well. But they will. They'll figure it out probably, hopefully for them. They got a big list now. Everybody's buyers. How? Owning a system, right? So systems can then attract JV partners. Does that make sense? Because you develop a way to make money. Here's the attraction. Here's why. You have a way to make money, right, that converts, it's proven, and it's profitable, right? You know how attractive that is to somebody that's got a big list of people who want to buy stuff? Well, shoot, I don't even have to make a product. I'll just email it to this thing. And it's not managed by me. It's attractive, right? How attractive is selling something like LeadNet Pro? You don't have to own it, and you make $300 a pop. Does that make sense? So you can get people who have huge lists slamming it if you're eventually, right? And this is the direction you could go with JVs and stuff. Does that make sense to everybody? That's where you want to grow to, because that's how everybody who has more than 30,000 people on their list, because that's about where I'm at. I've done most of it through myself, grassroots, right? To get to 300,000, I can't do that, right? I could, if I wanted to be in a lot of pain for a long time, spending a lot on advertising, and I spend the money on advertising too. Do you guys see the point? JVs is how to move to the next level. You can grow a list so fast it's unbelievable if you're smart and you have some ingenuity. And you don't even have to be a great presenter. You could do a JV with a good presenter. Freak, how good is Jim Chow at prospecting? It doesn't matter. Cedric Harris is working with them. Cedric Harris will close you on buying an elephant if you can only afford a puppy. Right? He says, but the elephant is so much bigger, you could draw him through town stomping on things. Come on. Buy now. 100% money back guarantee. It will poop on your neighbor's lawn, or we'll give you your money back, right? The power in that is, number one, there is enough for everybody, right? So in the act of working together with people, you're teaching yourself, you know, there's more than enough for me, right? Not a more powerful mind you could give to your, not a more powerful message you could give to your mind. There's more than enough. It's not a competitive world, it's an abundant world. People see it as competitive because they've had lack, right? We need to think differently than that. We need to elevate ourselves above that, right? Number two of you together have more powerful than just the two, either on your own, right? For everything. You all make more money. Right? Number three, you ain't good at everything, and you don't want to be. Jack of all trades is a master of none, and also tends to go around fixing stuff for $5 an hour. All right? Something I learned from John Maxwell. This is from an Amway tape, and I can't stand and really listen to this guy because I think he's kind of boring, but he's got a lot of wisdom. A lot of boring wisdom. So, you know, those of you who like that kind of thing, get some John Maxwell CDs, right? But Jay Maxwell, right? He's talking about leadership, you know, and when you form a team like that, he says, here's the reality. He says, if you're a 1 in an area, and that's your natural level of skill, is a 1, and everybody's got some 1s, right? Whether it's listening to others or people skills or technical ability like me, right? If you're a 1, a life of hard work can move you plus about 2 points, and if you really work, maybe 3 or 4. Right? That doesn't look right. I'll just say 3. It says a life of hard work can move you 2 points, maybe 3 in any area. So he says if you're a 1 in an area and you work your whole life, he's like, well, yeah, it's great. You might be able to move to a 4 tops. But here's the problem. A 4 doesn't make much money in any trade in the world. Right? He says, but if you're naturally a 7 in an area, a life of hard work can move you to a 9 or a 10. He says 9s make $1 million a year in anything. So what would you work on here, knowing that? What you're strong at or what you're weak at? Everybody wants to work what they're weak at, but that doesn't make much sense because nobody wants to listen to them for what they're weak at. They want to listen to them for why they're strong. Does that make sense? But here's the point with JVs. You're a 1 here, so what do you need? A JV partner or somebody to outsource to who's a 10. If you want to get to a new level. There's power in community, right? There's parts of the body. You know, I'm never going to be as nice as you. Sorry. I won't be. My mom, neither. I won't be as nice as my mom, no matter how hard I try in my life. I just can't care quite enough. I can care a lot, but just not as good as my mom, you know? Love her to pieces. Same thing with my wife, you know? So in any case, right, that's power in community, power in JVs. Now let's talk about a couple of concepts we didn't get to cover yesterday, right? Remember this chart we built out? We said traffic, we got leads, we got conversions, and I left this blank, I think, over here, but this is actually culture, is what I'd put here, right? And so with traffic modalities, here's the thing. There's stuff that is good and not so good right now, and it always shifts and changes all the time, right? What works tends to shift and change, you know? Right now I'm getting a lot of traffic from manipulating the mechanics of Tribe Pro. Probably won't always work, right? But it'll work for a while, you know, because nobody else thinks like me, right? But the point is the traffic shifts and change. But again, we covered in the Perpetual Funnel series, what are different ways to get traffic? Well, you got paid online, you got paid traffic, and that could come from any form of PPC or PPV, right? CPA, you know, things like this, cost per acquisition. There's a lot of ways to do paid advertising. You have paid, right? And you have social, you have SEO. They're all different. They all operate different. And people I've seen have greater problems with paid, especially if they have an analytical ability this big, because you know they tend to not want to abide by any terms and conditions anywhere, like me. Facebook disapproves their ad, and rather than fixing it, they want to throw a rock in the window in Facebook. Yeah, you want to do that several times, I bet, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in any case, right, so there's different ways to get traffic. Now, all my traffic has come from social and SEO, right? And there's also another element here from viral, right? Now, SEO traffic, for people that are trying to get into social traffic, usually they need to start with SEO. The reason is because you don't have a big network when you start. You need to start building one, right? And SEO traffic is what? Traffic that's created from people finding articles, videos, PDFs. They're actually indexed now, right? Audios. Any kind of content can be indexed if it's done properly, right? Now, I'm not the best expert here. This man is right here, Ola. So if you want to take some minutes, come up, talk about just some concepts, SEO concepts, to help you get started, because I encourage everybody going out of here to at least either write or outsource at least one article a day, right? And run it through a process that you decide on. Now, what's the best process? Everybody's always asking me. And now before he comes up, I'm just going to tell you, the best process is something that somebody else isn't doing.